Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Boston's Big Three, episode 24. Here with you, we got Joe, the man, the editor, Stafford with us, and myself, Brandon Watabe from Hot Corner. We are brought to you by Ride the Wave Media, or presented by Ride the Wave Media, and brought to you by 1 in 100. 1 in 100 is the only online raffle website giving fans and experience seekers a chance to win tickets to live sporting events, concerts, music festivals, and more. Whether it be from your desktop or mobile device, winning tickets to your favorite events has never been so easy and fun. Choose your desired event, purchase a raffle ticket into the draw, and you can be the lucky winner. So we're back on Boston's Big Three after a few days, few weeks off, but we got a lot to talk about, including 3 Patriots games, the first of which will not be a lot of fun to talk about. Everyone had their own takes about how this game should have played out and what could have happened, what should have happened. The referees definitely had, their fair share of involvement in this game. If one call goes one way, the entire game is flipped, and that happened 2 or 3 times in this game. You got to remind me of some of the ones that happened, Joe.
Well, the first one that came to mind is a Sammy Watkins one, the first down call, where he was
the challenge,
yeah, the challenge. He was at least 2 yards behind the first down marker, and then they throw the challenge flag out.
Bobbles the ball in the air.
Exactly.
While he's getting pushed backwards.
Right, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way this is a first down. Even they're reviewing it, they're showing the replay in live. I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen. And then they go on TV and have the gall to say, we were right. First down, the Patriots lose a timeout.
Man,
and it's just unbelievable to me. Not even to reverse the first down call. It was, first of all, it was borderline if he even caught it with the bobbling. Then he was pushed backwards 3 yards. Then they gave him forward progress for 3 yards he didn't even gain. I don't understand the logic there. I don't understand how that works in New York. I don't understand how that works, period.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was like, all right, fine. The referees stink anyway. I knew this coming in. Let's move on.
And that's the problem with it. The problem with that play, though, is the challenge. Because they use the challenge and you don't have it later on, which will play into the game later.
Exactly. And we had to challenge it twice in the first three. Was it the first half of the first 3 quarters? It was
probably. I know the third quarter was just bad in general.
Yeah, but I think we used our first 2 challenges, our only challenges in the first half.
Okay.
And then N'Keal Harry happened.
Yeah.
N'Keal Harry. Wonderful catch, wonderful play drawn up by the genius Josh McDaniels. Goes down the sideline, takes a pivot foot to dive up into the end zone, crosses the plane, touchdown. Everybody's going nuts. Brady's in the driver's seat again. The Patriots are or not in the lead, but they're ready to go to win the game.
They got all the momentum.
All the momentum going forward.
All of it.
And then the referee calls him out of bounds.
Come over, have a little huddle.
The thing is, though, here's my problem with it. If you want to call him out of bounds, you know what? If you saw something different than what I saw, fine. But why don't you call it a touchdown so you can review it? If he's out of bounds, you can't review the play. All touchdowns are automatically reviewed. So you might as well just cover your ass and say it's a touchdown and then reverse the call afterwards. And that's inexcusable refereeing.
When the sideline, is it the sideline judge who made the call?
He was right there. He was next to him.
They came over and had a little conversation. Like, I don't know what I saw, and he had to have a conversation with the other referee, and they talk it over and end up calling him out of bounds. But this is a play you see a million times that Julian Edelman's made a career out of, diving for the pylon, and that's in that exact side of the field.
Yeah, and I'm convinced these referees are at least taught when they're being trained to want to review everything they can. That's the whole instant replay era that we're in right now. So you're telling me this referee decided to go against all of his training and call a play that's non-reviewable? That's inexcusable. That was the one that really got me aggravated, because that's you have the opportunity to change the game. You have the opportunity to get the call right, and you decide not to review it. That really got me aggravated. I mean, the whole game got me aggravated, but
yeah, I know that was the play. A lot of the guys that ride the wave, they were calling for what if we had something like an official's press conference afterwards where they can say talk about what they saw and talk about some of these important things that ended up changing the outcome of the game and what could have happened.
The NFL doesn't want that to happen, because no matter what the NFL says, whatever the referee union says, they have a hand in the games. And they know that every game rides on their shoulders, no matter what the players do.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they had referee press conferences afterwards, first of all, just a little tidbit here, players cannot criticize referees in post-game press conferences. They get fined for that. First of all, that's wrong, because the referees are wrong 90% of the time. And 2, it restricts free speech in an open conversation about how to change the refereeing game, which we need to have, because this is getting ridiculous. ridiculous.
Because you got to make the game right. These are guys like salaries and like who knows if I know N'Keal Harry's a rookie, but if it comes down to like at the end of the year when he's like if he scored 5 touchdowns this year, he would have got like a $500,000 bonus, and he only gets 4. And like you go back to that play versus Kansas City where he's one short, he's gonna be pretty pissed. He's gonna even in his post game press conference, you heard he was pretty upset, and I think everyone in the Patriots organization was pretty upset at that call. Everyone's celebrating. You got the whole Gillette crowd going crazy. They're back in the driver's seat. Like Kansas City's not going to beat us this year, and you end up having the officials call that play dead, call it out of bounds, and then
that just changes the game.
Oh yeah, we're not even done with all the officiating in this game. Go back or go forward a little bit. I think it was the Travis Kelce caught a ball that ended up one of the most athletic plays I've ever seen on the strip fumble. It was unreal. The play I think McCourty made on it, Devin McCourty made, and just punches that ball out while he's bringing this big 250-pound guy to the ground and manages to get the ball out, and the officials call it dead once again, and Gilmore picks it up while he had straight away he had one guy to beat to get to the end zone. And
Gilmore had a touchdown, guaranteed.
I believe that would have been a touchdown.
No doubt in my mind, Gilmore has a straight ahead line to the end zone, a beeline. And again, you blow the ball, you blow the play dead. I cannot believe what I was seeing on TV. Yeah. I was literally shaking. I was shaking in my pants. It was literally unbelievable to see this kind of officiating. And not just the one play, the second play, the third play. There was at least
it just kept happening and happening and happening. Yeah.
And this is like I'm trying to say this as the most unbiased fan I can. As a fan of football, as a fan of the sport in general, this was the worst officiated game I've ever seen.
I 100% agree with you.
Not even close. And that's saying something because we've seen some terrible games. We've seen the Fail Mary. We've seen an interception go to a touchdown.
You'll watch a game and there'll be one bad call throughout the game, and it'll definitely change one team's momentum for the others. But this game, it was different because you just keep seeing those plays happen, and they just keep piling on, and everyone's going to start berating the refs online on Twitter. Everyone gets their say in. But this game was different because it just kept piling on and piling on. It wasn't that one single play.
That having human referees has a certain amount of human error involved. I understand that. If there's a bad call, I get it. You may not have the great angle on it. You can't review it. That's fine.
Right.
But when it happens 4 times and it changes the entire complexity of the game, that's inexcusable.
And they're all one-sided. I'm sure there's a few calls. Maybe one call in that game that goes the Patriots' way, but majority of it was going Kansas City's way.
All of them would have gone the Patriots' way if they had reviewed them. And actually, no, scratch that, because they did review a couple of them, and they still didn't give them to the Patriots, which was ridiculous.
Unreal. But yeah, that game was just frustrating all around. My brother's a big N'Keal Harry fan. He's been 100% all in on that guy since we drafted him in the first round this year, and he's just expecting big things out of him. But I'm seeing signs now. Would you agree that you're seeing a lot more production out of this rookie coming in now?
I feel like a lot of people had unrealistic expectations coming into the preseason.
Right.
Then he goes to Detroit and makes those 3 ridiculous catches, and everybody's like, wow, we got a gem here. Right. Then he gets injured, and people start forgetting about him. Then we get AB.
What was his injury?
He had a shoulder, a knee, and a foot injury all at the same time. Okay. So they just decided to shut him down for half the season. That makes sense. He's a rookie. Yeah. Then we got AB. He got overshadowed. Then AB left. Then Josh Gordon was traded. And then we went from having the best receiving core in the league to one of the worst.
Could you believe that AB was on the team? That was week 2. I thought that was week 4, week 5. I thought that was more recent. That was months ago.
Yeah, the makeup of the team's completely shifted. Yeah. I think it's one of the most in limbo rosters we've ever seen for the Patriots organization. No doubt in my mind.
I know we've talked about it on shows before, just how the fluidity of the receiving core from top to bottom. Brady's only got a few guys to work with consistently. Edelman's one of the only guys who's been in there 90% of the time.
And I'm convinced he's hurt too. I'm convinced something's broken in his shoulder. They say it's a separation, there's something going on. I think something's broken because every time he gets up, he's stiff as a board.
He had a drive.
Too tough to admit it.
We'll get to the Bills game later, but he was on another level there. But
getting back to N'Keal Harry though, just to finish up.
Right.
N'Keal Harry was drafted out of ASU as a complete receiver. He can route run, he can catch the ball consistently, possession and receiving, and he can make big plays. And I think in that Cincinnati game, you started to see how big of an impact this guy can make.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big-bodied guy, and you can't take him down. These cornerbacks don't want to hit him, especially as we get into the colder months. And when we play in New England, we're going to have home field advantage at least 2 out of the 3 playoff games we play in, until obviously we get to Baltimore. Then it'll be a whole different conversation. But these cornerbacks in cold weather, they tackle with their arms. And N'Keal Harry's a big boy. He'll run right through you. And that's what the kind of toughness you need. And it kind of goes along with Edelman, too, because Edelman's a huge, strong kid, but he's small and he's just fiery. We almost have big brother and little brother over here. But little brother making up for it. And it's kind of funny to see. But that touchdown catch against the Bengals in that end zone, where he had to kind of improvise and maneuver away and everything, he read Brady's eyes the entire way, and he made a phenomenal catch. He's starting to gain that trust in that fluidity in that offensive system, and we need it, because when you have a 42-year-old quarterback who's been used to having the same weapons for the last 3 to 4 years, and then you have him in limbo between Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman, Jacoby Myers, and all these inexperienced young receivers, and then you start double-teaming Edelman, you start double-teaming White out of the backfield, you have nothing to do.
Right.
And it's so hard to do because of the offensive line's play as well. Ted Karras has done an okay job, as best as you can do, to replace David Andrews. But we've seen the impact that Andrews' injury has left on the team. He was the anchor of that offensive line, the captain of that offensive line. Shaq Mason doesn't feel safe having Ted Karras next to him. And you can see it in pass protection. You really can. But to find success in the playoffs, they're going to have to find some traction with the receiving core and Tom Brady.
Yeah, but I think that this N'Keal Harry guy, he's something special. I think the Patriots knew what they were doing, like they always do if they're drafting a guy in the very first round of the NFL drafts.
I mean, to be honest with you, we've been terrible at drafting receivers early. We've been absolutely terrible, but finally I think we actually hit on one.
This guy's a hit. Yeah, and like I was saying, my brother's a big fan of this guy. He's something special. I've watched some of his tape from ASU. He's just got nothing but pure amazing highlights. Not a lot of lowlights in there, but you see he's on this rookie contract. He's with Brady at the twilight of his career. He's just one of these guys that Brady's got to increase that trust factor with, because he's going to be with him until the end of his career in all likelihood. I know we had a few conversations earlier in the year about N'Keal Harry's character issues, and that's why he was sidelined on his first game back from IR. But still, this is a big-bodied, heavy guy who's going to be that red zone threat that the Patriots have needed since Gronk retired.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Very special.
Speaking of Gronk, baby Gronk, Matt Lacoste had a nice showing out last Sunday against Buffalo.
He's all right.
I was at the game. It was in my end zone. I sit in section 141, and it was right next to me. And I saw he made some great catch. He had some awesome hands on that, some great instinct, some turnaround stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they use the tight ends as the postseason approaches, because in that Buffalo game, they used Ben Watson a decent amount. They used Matt Lacoste.
They used Ben Watson a lot, yeah.
I know, and when you spread the ball around, you see how it affects the offense. It gets the defense off guard. They start playing more zone, and then Tom Brady rips it apart because he's too experienced. That's what you need to do. The key to success with this Patriots offense going into the postseason is, first, running the ball effectively. We need Sony Michel to get going, and he has been the past few games.
Momentum's building.
Momentum is building, and that's the same thing that happened last season. He kind of had an injury mid-season, and he was kind of iffy going into that postseason run, but then he carried us throughout the entire postseason. He was the reason why we got to the Super Bowl and why we won.
Yeah.
And if to have a prayer of doing that again, we need to get him going.
Mm-hmm. To wrap up the Kansas City game, I think the one last call that was in question was, I think it was Philip Dorsett was on the receiving end of it, on the pass interference that people were calling for. Honestly, I think if the Patriots had a challenge remaining, I think if they challenged that one, it wasn't going to get overturned, but it still looked pretty bad. Just the way that the pass interference rule has been getting called this year, I don't think it would have gotten overturned, or ruling on the field would have changed. But that was still pretty blatant. The receiver's arms getting pulled back down so he couldn't make a play for the ball behind his head.
Midair. Yeah. And to be honest with you, that play out of all of them was the most excusable. Right. That was okay, it's the fourth quarter, they're letting them play football. That makes sense. That's one of the calls I was mad about as a Patriots fan, but as a football fan,
right.
I was like, okay, they let the players play.
But yeah, fast forward a few weeks where we are now, you look back at that game, and that's not the one I'm upset about. I'm still upset about the N'Keal Harry one and the Gilmore pick up and
because
run.
if those plays have been called correctly, there would be no need to toss it up to Philip
Dorsett. Exactly. Philip Dorsett's not one of those guys you want to be relying on in the last seconds of a game to get open.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Patriots and Bengals game. The Patriots finished their last road game of the year in Cincinnati. They put the game and went on the road to Cincinnati to take on the 1-14. What were they?
Something like that.
I think they only had one win. Yeah, I think they still only have one.
They're in the basement. That's all that matters.
What do you think? What do you think of that game?
This was a statement game. Yeah. It happened 2014, the same way actually. Kansas City beats us in a disapproving fashion. We go to Cincinnati and we kick ass, and that's exactly what we did. But the main takeaway from that game, besides N'Keal Harry actually getting involved in the offense, was the run game. The first half was kind of stagnant offensively. We didn't get a lot going besides that early James White touchdown. But as the third quarter approached and we kind of got a feel of like how the rest of the game was going to go, you saw we were going to be a run-dominant team. And that's what we were. Shaq Mason is one of the best run-blocking guards in the league, one of the best pull guards in the league, and you saw it on that Sunday. Elandon Roberts has been playing beautifully in that fullback role. Yes, he's still getting used to it, but like he said so affectionately,
he's a nice fill-in guy, and he's got that quote after the game. It's fun
to run through a bleep face. We love that kind of energy you need to have as a fullback. That's the Anthony Sherman, James Devlin energy you gotta have, which was nice to see. But best part of that game, Sony Michel finally got going. The whole running back stable got going. James White was obviously involved as he is every week. Sony Michel finally got his first great game of the year. And Rex Burkhead, sexy Rex with an unbelievable touchdown run against his former team in Cincinnati.
I think that was the one that really put the game away. That was the 30-yard run. Something like that.
Regardless, it really put the game away. Exclamation point. It was the final nail in the hammer.
Yeah. So not a lot to say about this game. Big Patriots win against a really bad Cincinnati game.
I guess
nonetheless, Patriots get back on track and travel home to take on the Buffalo Bills. And
there was a little bit of a Spygate situation going on in Cincinnati the week before the game.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
It just got. It wasn't as blown out of proportion as some of the ones in the past have been, but it was still dominated headlines.
When it first came out, I was thinking, and they said it was a documentary. I'm like, I'm sure it wasn't like as serious as it was. And then Jake Glazer released it on Fox Live, and the Patriots assistant is literally there shitting his pants while the Cincinnati security guy is interrogating him, and it made us look absolutely terrible. It made us look so guilty. It was not even
the way that Fox handled that situation when they had the exclusive video and they showed it during halftime of some meaningless game and just blowing it out of proportion. Yes, the video was awful and looked like really incriminating that Patriots assistant who ended up getting suspended for his role in the Spygate 2.0, we'll call it.
I can't believe he actually had the gall to say, I can just delete it right now. Like, we don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah.
Like what? Like, are you kidding me?
It's like when two little kids are fighting and he's like, hey, you just punch me back. Just punch me back.
Literally,
you don't have to worry about it.
Don't tell Mom. It's literally unbelievable. This guy actually still has a job. I would have fired him. If I'm Kraft, I'm like, get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
We already have a bad reputation as it is, but just doing that again, making it look that much worse.
Yeah, but the video is not much
good.
Worse.
But
if
still,
you get caught with doing that, that's fine. But the video made it that much worse. Much worse.
Just recording the sideline.
Yep.
But that was a really interesting scenario. I think it's completely dead now. Not completely dead. I don't think any repercussions have been handed out from the NFL yet. The Patriots did end up suspending that video assistant for his role in the situation, but I think the Patriots will be all right. It's not going to be another. You're fined $1 million. We're taking some picks away. It's going to be pretty minor if anything does end up coming out of it. But the Patriots ended up winning 34-13 in Cincinnati and returned home for the AFC East title game versus Buffalo.
When was the last time you heard that one?
It was a fun game. It lived up to the hype.
Yeah,
I know. Honestly,
I was at the
East
game.
Championship.
I was at the game. The energy was infectious, and it was really the first game against the Buffalo Bills I've been to where the crowd stayed the entire game. And the reason why, because it was actually a competitive game for once, and that's good. You
Yeah.
want competitive football, especially as Tom Brady's getting older. To see that last hint of magic that we got on this Patriots roster. Takeaways from that game, like I explained earlier, the tight ends getting involved was big. As soon as you get those tight ends involved, it opens up the receiving core, and they start playing more and more zone. And the Patriots love playing zone defenses because they know how to beat it. The only way to beat the Patriots is to play great lockdown man coverage blitzing. That's the only way you can do it. And teams can't do that if you're using your tight ends effectively. And that's exactly what the Patriots did. The run game, again, had a great start and a great finish. We controlled the clock most of the game. The defense played well enough. That Smokey Brown.
They gave up a few big plays, but nonetheless, like the defense won the game at the very end. Yeah.
Josh Allen had 11 passing yards in the first quarter. He didn't attempt to pass until I think the second series. They tried to do all this,
and it was the long bomb.
Yeah, but then the long bomb, he unhinged it. Josh Allen isn't accurate, but this guy has an absolute cannon. He has an absolute cannon.
He has a cannon. That was on display for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Especially on the long touchdown that probably made Patriots fans a little nervous. I think that gave them the lead because the Patriots were leading. They were leading 13-10 prior to that, and then that pass happened. Just Josh Allen taking a shot for the end zone. I don't know who. I think Brown.
Does
that sound right?
Brown.
John Brown, who shook Gilmore, and then it was Devin McCourty was the only guy in pursuit and just gassed him to the end zone for.
But I'm telling you, this Buffalo Bills team is a solid team. It's a good overall team. What really impressed me, Devin Singletary, their rookie running back. He had tremendous balance the entire game. He hit the holes well. He made people miss, and he kept his balance. That was the most important part of his game. Patriots would come in and hit him in the hole, but he would stay up. And I couldn't imagine how he could stay up on some of these hits, but he did.
Yeah. That was like one of not the first time, that happened the week before, Joe Mixon had a good running day against the Patriots too, where that seems like if the Patriots defense, I don't think we're calling them the boogeymen anymore because they've had a few bad games, but the lowlights are definitely there. It seems like the run game, that's going to be their key in the playoffs. If they're able to stop the run game, there's not a lot any offense is going to be able to do against this Patriots defense. Passing game, yeah, they'll get one big shot play every now and then. You see that versus Baltimore, versus Kansas City, versus Houston, versus even Cincinnati. But then again against Buffalo, it's gonna happen. These guys are going to be taking shots against the best defense in the league, and they're going to hit on some of them. It's going to be like a gamble, throw it up, see what happens. But it worked out for the Bills this week. The Bills' run game was there, like you're talking about, Singletary just bouncing off tackles, running for yards after contact, and that was one of the successes that the Bills had and the Cincinnati Bengals had against us. But the Patriots' run game was building momentum, and that also played a role this week, helping the Patriots secure the AFC East for a record 11th time in a row.
That unreal. Is unbelievable. That's an unparalleled duration of success that probably will never be seen again. I really doubt it'll be seen ever again.
I have to look at it. I think the Patriots have only lost the AFC East, I think, like 3 or 4 times while I've been on the planet. I think I was in 2008 when Brady was hurt.
2002
after the Patriots won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yep, we missed the playoffs that year.
Maybe 98 and 99. Maybe. I'd have to fact check that one. I'd have to look back at those. Those were the Bledsoe years.
Yeah.
And I was in diapers, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's talk about the relevant stuff, the last 5 years.
Absolutely. Just the dominance. Did you see the Buffalo Bills have never come into Gillette Stadium while Tom Brady's under center and won the game?
Well, it was no, the Bills beat us one time, but Brady was out because it was week 17.
Okay.
I think it was Garoppolo came in and they lost the game or something.
If Brady finishes the game in the fourth quarter,
that was the
undefeated.
Yes. That he owns the Buffalo Bills franchise. You know when they were selling it a couple years ago, Brady might as well have bought them because he just owns them.
Honestly, they're gonna build a statue of him outside. New Era Field is what they're just called. Up there, not even in Buffalo. Yeah. What city do they play in? It's not Buffalo. It's another one of those. They're called the Buffalo Bills, but they play. It's like Forest Park.
East Rutherford.
No, that's the Jets and
Mm,
Giants. We'll have to fact check it. I think it's like Forest Park or something along those
probably.
lines.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the Patriots lock up the AFC East. 11th time in a row, still unbelievable. Congratulations to those guys. They're locked into the playoff picture, and they can lock up the 1 seed,
The two
or not
seed.
the 2 seed. Excuse me. Lock up the 2 seed Week 17 versus Miami Dolphins. So if they win versus the Dolphins, where they're in control of their own destiny, and they lock up that first round bye and get to take a week off and get ready for probably the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round.
This is going to be a very interesting game, not the Chiefs game, the Week 17 against the Dolphins. A lot of people are kind of underscoring this game like, oh, they're in the playoffs already. Like, don't worry about it. We need this bye.
Yeah.
We need this bye badly. We
We
can't
need this
afford to lose
bye
this
to get.
game.
There's so many, like there's guys that are playing, but they're just so they're ailed right now. They're not completely 100% healthy, and that bye
Yes.
week will definitely give them the chance, like they get every year. That'll give them the chance to recoup and get healthy.
It's paramount that they get up early in this game so they can rest these guys in the second half, but they need to get up big. We cannot
Yeah.
afford to lose this game because if we do not have that bye and we play in the wild card, there is not a shot in hell we get the Super Bowl.
And I think
No
I'm
way.
not sure who are the Chiefs playing next
The
week or this
Chiefs,
weekend, because
is it a divisional game?
it should be. Because
Um,
if the Chiefs win and the Patriots lose, they secure the 2 seed, and
they are
then we drop
playing the
to
Los
3.
Angeles Chargers.
Okay, so that is divisional. Is it at LA or is it at Kansas City?
I think it's at Kansas City.
Okay, well it's a home game nonetheless. Um,
I mean, the way
either
that the way that Philip Rivers has been playing this year, it shouldn't be a
yeah,
problem to win that game.
yeah. So
Um,
gotta lock up that game for sure to win
Yes, but
to win
while we're
the
in that
first.
division, while we're talking about that division, the Oakland Raiders, soon to be the Las Vegas Raiders,
Yeah.
have probably the best playoff parlay I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, I've got it right here. I can give you the odds right now if you want.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So if let me tell you these five if these 5 teams win, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Oakland Raiders are going to the playoffs in 2019, 2020. It's something to behold. Like it's one of the greatest parlays in NFL history. Most of the teams are underdogs, which is a little bit scary. But the Raiders, if they win versus who are they playing?
The
I,
Raiders.
I don't write down who they're playing,
I
but
think they're playing Denver, right?
they are. They're playing in Denver. So that's
In
going to be a tough game to win. That's always a tough place to play. And
Right.
Denver's got a good kid in Drew Lock balling out right now. But if the Raiders win, the Browns win, the Baltimore Ravens win, the Texans win, and the Colts win, the Raiders are going to the playoffs, and it's plus 3,500 right now. So if you put $5 down on this bet, like if you were to bet $5 that all these teams are going to win, just take the money line. $5 would win you $163, and $100 would win you something like $4,000.
Yeah, I actually might bet on it. I don't bet at
Why
all.
not?
I really
Yeah,
don't bet at all, but I might have to put something
I
down that
know.
parlay.
It's a good
Because
one.
those are all good teams, capable teams of winning in that Week
Mhm.
17 scenario. It's not like the Buccaneers a couple years ago where it was like 30 different outcomes and just like a tie and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. But I kind of want to bet on that
It
parlay.
would be like if the Raiders make playoffs, I want to have some roll in it. I want to win too. Like I don't want to just watch them like, oh, that's cool. They beat the Steelers out of the playoffs in,
The
in
only
that
reason
sixth
why
spot.
I wouldn't want them in the playoffs is so that Babs would have that satisfaction of
Yeah,
going for the Raiders all
ride
season.
with the
That's
Raiders
the only
all
reason why I don't
every
want them in.
time.
Every
Unreal.
time.
That would
But
be
you got
really
to hand it
funny.
off to Chucky. John Gruden's had a phenomenal
Mhm.
coaching season. He's really brought this team back to life. There's rumors floating around that he doesn't want Derek Carr there long term. I think that's a mistake. I think Derek Carr's played very well this
He's
season.
good. He was an MVP candidate a few seasons ago before he broke his leg.
Exactly. And the thing that he has to have behind him to have those kind of numbers is a run game. And Josh Jacobs has held down
Savage.
fort in Oakland this year.
Problem is, I don't think he's playing Week 17 versus Denver, which will hurt their chances. But nonetheless, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, just track these 5 games, see like, oh, there's still a chance, because they had the same thing last week. They could have been eliminated from the playoffs last week, but all 5 teams ended up winning, and the Raiders lived on to see another day, to live on to the next parlay this week.
Exactly.
Same kind of thing is happening for the Dallas Cowboys. I think if they win and the Eagles lose, it basically secures their spot as the NFC East champions as an 8-8 team going to the playoffs.
I think the NFC East might be the worst division in NFL history.
Ever.
And,
Sure,
and people
they've got a lot
like,
of titles to show, but
exactly. And you saw it a couple years ago, the NFC South, where I think that a team went to the playoffs at 7-8-1. They went to the play, and I'm comfortable saying that is not as bad as the NFC East.
No,
the NFC East is straight up garbage.
Dwayne
Haskins is probably the biggest bust I've seen in Redskins history, and the Redskins suck. The Redskins have a terrible franchise.
Was he a first-round pick? He wasn't, right? He had to wait a few days. Okay.
No. Yeah. He got the Geno Smith treatment. I think he slipped to the second round. But the Redskins, absolute train wreck. Only good player on that team, Terry McLaurin. The literally only good player. Landon Collins has been very pedestrian.
I'd be surprised. I think the AFC East has like just an unreal record because I know the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots swept their like 4-0 against the schedule this year against the NFCs because their AFC East versus NFC East was on the schedule this year, and both those teams went undefeated. I'd be curious to look.
Beat the Cowboys.
The Jets beat the Cowboys. I might have been the only one, but maybe the Redskins. But they had the AFC East dominated that schedule this year, and that's one of the reasons you see the Buffalo Bills where they're at.
Exactly. I mean, like, but you take what you get too. People always say, "Oh, easy schedule." The same thing for us early in the season. But
we'll go 4-0 against them.
You just have to do what you have on the schedule. You don't pick and choose your schedule. You take what you get. And we were fortunate this year with the schedule that we got. You take it and you go with it. You run with it.
Exactly. So instead of doing like an NFL picks thing this week of like against choosing the games that are happening this weekend, we're going to kind of look at the playoff picture since it's coming up so quick. Like next week, NFL wild card is happening.
Right.
We got week 17, end of the regular season, fast approaching, hours away. This Sunday and Monday. Or is there a Monday? I don't even think there's a Monday game.
I don't think so.
But so regular season wraps up this weekend. So let's kind of look into the playoff picture right now and what we think is going to hold, what we think is not going to hold, and I know there's the big Sunday night football matchup is huge this week, and it's going to be a fun game to watch, considering the last time that these two teams played, it was on Monday Night Football, and it was the Seattle Seahawks visiting the San Francisco 49ers, and the Seahawks ended the Niners' undefeated run, and the Sunday Night Football is season finale for both those teams going to the playoffs, but it's going to lock up. It could potentially be the 1 seed versus being all the way down to like a 5 seed in this game. I think they're both 11-3. I want to say something.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. However the math breaks down. But
they're both 12-3.
12-3. Yeah, that adds up better. But these teams are going to go at each other, and Seattle's gonna have home field advantage for the first time versus the Niners this season, and it's going to be a crazy game.
Correction. The Niners are 12-3, and the Seahawks are 11-4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Seahawks they dropped that game to Arizona last week, which was really surprising.
Kyler Murray, I've been on the bandwagon since he's been drafted. Kyler Murray has shown me a lot this season.
He's showing
a very good Seattle team. He's a very good Seattle team. But talking about the NFC, San Francisco, I think, is going to lock the top spot up. Mm-hmm. I think it's a close game to the very end, but I think Russell Wilson is relegated to the wild card again. But he won't lose the first round this time.
No.
He won't lose the first round this time because
an NFC East team will be there with him.
Exactly, and they have a better team than last year, I think, in general. The Packers, huge victory over the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is now 0-9 in primetime Monday Night Football games. He might be the worst under pressure quarterback I've ever seen.
That was bad. That's really bad. Being like when you sign a guy for that much guaranteed money, you have to have him perform in those moments, and he has not his entire career. Where you look from Washington to now in Minnesota, just not being able to perform in those under the big shining lights and being able to carry his team to the next level. That's the only thing holding back this Minnesota team. I think they're locked into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they. I think they have the wild card locked up
as
the 6th seed.
Yeah, so they clinched, and the problem there is when if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm going into the playoffs with no confidence in Kirk Cousins to take them to the Super Bowl, which is really frustrating considering how close they've been for the last few seasons. And now Kirk Cousins is on the doorstep, could be on the doorstep, and it's not going to happen.
I think it depends on the health of Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's been held out the last couple of weeks, and he'll be held out again in Week 17. But if he comes back to full force, what he was at the beginning of this season, they have a shot. They do have a shot because no matter what you say, Kirk Cousins is still a good quarterback. He's good. He's not great, and he's not clutch. But if you have a run game and a solid defense like he does, it's possible for him to get these much-needed victories. So it all depends on that run game.
Do you think when these situations arise, like the NFC East team possibly being 500 going into the playoffs, do you think there needs to be some sort of shuffle reseat at the bottom of the order? Because the Vikings are the 6th seed. The Vikings are the 6th seed at 11 or at 10-5, and they're going to be seated lower than a team like if they ended up playing like Philadelphia. Philadelphia would have home field advantage against a team that has a record 2 to 3 games better than them.
Exactly. I've thought a lot about this, especially when it comes to NFC and AFC. And even the NBA has been talking about reshuffling their entire playoff system. To be frank with you, I think we need a complete overhaul. I would love to see just the best teams in football going at it.
Yeah.
I would love to see a complete reshuffle of the seeding depending on the record and depending on the quality of the team, really. I know you can't reshuffle it when a team is worse record-wise. But I just want to see the best football possible being played on Sundays because nobody in the NFC should be in the playoffs.
No, not a single one of them. They've blown it. Yeah.
At all. No place in my mind. So there needs to be some kind of reshuffling. I don't really understand how that would look, but it should be brought up at least once in the NFL owners meeting this upcoming season.
Because this just can't happen. You like the playoffs is the place you have to earn it. You want to see, like the fans want to see the best of the best teams. Yes, these teams have crazy big fan bases, but they're not going to be the ones like selling out stadiums because they know that they're terrible going into the playoffs. You could have a team like the Steelers that could potentially be left out of playoffs because the Raiders have that crazy parlay bet. You'd rather see that team that with crazy momentum going into the playoffs rather than one of these NFC East teams that has been lukewarm, barely winning every other game this season. I just don't think.
Speaking of the Steelers, I do have an apology to make on our live TV broadcast here. I was wrong, Mike Tomlin. I apologize. You've had a phenomenal coaching season. I've said some vulgar, terrible things about him during his career and his tenure as a Pittsburgh Steelers coach. But I'm wrong. I have to apologize. He's had a phenomenal coaching season. He's dealt with so much adversity, especially at the quarterback position, and he's shown out. And he really has a playoff team. When it comes down to it, he has a playoff quality team under his belt.
Yeah, he's my coach of the year for sure. If they clinch playoffs this weekend versus Baltimore, who's resting all their starters and would ruin the Raiders parlay, I think the Steelers have a great chance at securing the wild card spot and being that last team in, if you will. And securing Mike Tomlin as coach of the year with all these players dropping.
I want him to win for another reason too, because I want them to come to Gillette and do that zone blitz stuff they always do, so we can blow them out again. I would love to see that.
That would be fun. But yeah, I think that wraps up most of our playoff picture talk. We'll definitely get some playoff predictions in the next show, probably next week or the week after. Once the stage is set, definitely next week. At least by the end of this weekend, the stage will be set and we'll be able to start looking at all the picks, who matches up with who, and definitely make a prediction for how this whole bracket's going to play out.
Yep, exactly.
Let's move on. So a lot of people, Max Kellerman, Rob Parker, they thought Brady was going to fall off the cliff, but they're still marching on. They're still going, and the first team to fall off a cliff, it wasn't the Patriots, it was the Bruins this season, who started the best team in hockey. Everyone was praising them, crowned them Stanley Cup champions a month into the season, and they have lost. There was a stretch where they lost 8 of their 9 games in a 9-game stretch. They lost 8 games in there, and it was not a pretty picture, not a fun time to be a Bruins fan, but still one of the best records in the league, still getting points up. A lot of those losses came in overtime losses, shootout losses, and they're just heartbreaking. You're watching the game and they come back or give up a lead, and you're everything's there. It's there. The win's there for the taking, and they blow it. We've talked about it for a few weeks, but we definitely got to get one of the Puckhead guys. It's your formal invitation. First one of them to watch the show and reach out to us to get them on the show. Talk about what's going on with these Boston Bruins, because they looked so good at the beginning of the season. And
but that's the problem though. This is the problem with almost every sport, especially in Boston, where it's a high pressure situation. Everyone jumps the gun every single time. You saw it with the Boogeyman, and now they're not the Boogeyman anymore. And for the Patriots, the Bruins Stanley Cup champions a month in. It's a month in. It's early in the season. That has no bearing on the playoffs whatsoever. And that's the thing that gets me so frustrated sometimes. People jump the gun so early. But again, they jump the gun early too when we're skidding. Oh, we're not making the playoffs. Oh, the team's collapsing. What's going to happen? No, it's a mid-season skid. It happens almost every single year with every single team. It's not that big of a deal. We're dropping games at an alarming rate. Yes. Yeah. We've seen some of the stupidest goaltending I've ever seen in my life. Like, did you see that play in overtime on the game-winning a goal?
Against which one?
I forget who we were playing against, but Halak literally skated out almost to mid-ice.
Yeah,
skates out almost to mid-ice, and then tries to go for the puck. Like, that's goalie 101. Don't leave the crease. That was mind-boggling to me. And I'm not a big hockey guy, as you can probably tell, but that was mind-boggling.
It's a good play if he makes it, but when you don't, that's a mess.
That's SportsCenter top 10 material.
Yeah. Right? Not what you want to see
from bright spot that's still shining for the Bruins. David Pastrnak is my MVP pick. He's my MVP pick. I don't care what you say. The NHL keeps talking about Jack Eichel and keep talking about Connor McDavid. No, David Pastrnak's my MVP.
The problem with Pastrnak, he's still on this hot stretch, scoring he's almost at 30 goals already at the Christmas break, which is a fun thing about hockey. They get the Christmas break off. They get to spend it with their families. But Pastrnak has to keep this up. I know this is one of the biggest reasons the Bruins did not win the Stanley Cup last year, is because David Pastrnak just did not have a great postseason. And not just a terrible postseason, but he had a bad Stanley Cup final. Just barely showed up, was basically just a team contributor and not a goal scorer in that series, which he has to be in the playoffs this year for the Bruins to have another chance to win the cup and bring it back to Boston for the second time in 10 years. But the skid is it's kind of overshadowed in a good way from their finale versus the Capitals at home, where they poured on 7 goals on the Capitals. 6 different Bruins scored in that game on their way to a big win versus.
That is Boston sports porn, my friend. Yeah. When you beat the Capitals, and you know it is. Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable.
Versus the last team out of the East to win it. You gotta be happy for that going into the break. Bruins are back in a few days to take on someone, but they should be back to. They looked like they're back to full form, getting contribution from all 5 lines, and I think they will be. The Bruins will be all right. Like you said,
I'm not worried about the
Boston sports thing. Yeah,
they'll get back on track eventually, and I'm not really worried about it. They'll be fine. They're gonna be a top 3 seed, and
playoffs are gonna go through Boston this year. It's gonna be fun.
100%.
It's gonna be a ton of fun.
Yep.
It's gonna be a fun summer for Boston sports in general. Just from the Red Sox. I'm just a baseball guy. The Red Sox being back, but the Celtics being unreal this season, the Bruins being unreal this season. Both those teams going to be at the Garden probably well into May, which is going to be really fun to watch. Moving on to the other team that is probably going to be playing in May in the Garden is the Boston Celtics. They played on Christmas this year for the 4th time, and they play every Christmas. Who am I kidding?
Yeah.
But they played in Toronto this year. If you win if you win the NBA Finals, you're going to be hosting a Christmas Day game, and the Toronto Raptors hosted their first ever Christmas game versus the Celtics and ended up losing it.
Let's put a little star next to this game, though. A little star next to this game. Pascal Siakam was not playing. They were missing a couple of their key contributors, but
they had nobody.
Nevertheless, absolute blowout. Jason Tatum with one of the most vicious posters that was not called a bucket. They just not to call it a basket.
The picture's still great from it. The picture's still great from it.
The picture's phenomenal screensaver right now.
If you look back and the ball's halfway down, it's just sitting on top of a hand, but it still looks good.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of Tatum, the reason why the Celtics are doing so well without Gordon Hayward, without Marcus Smart, is because he's taken that step. I've said it so many times this year, and I can't stop saying it because I'm so happy about it. I never thought that the year would come. He is that dude. Taco J, the high five Paul Pierce, the step back, the swagger. He has it. And it's phenomenal to see, especially with the emergence of Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
When the contract first came out about Jaylen Brown re-signing, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was okay with it. He's a good player, not a great player. He was in my view. And he's proved me wrong. And you know what? I'm happy to be wrong.
He's playing for way more money right now. Like, he's playing way past that contract.
He's playing for a max right now.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at him right now, he's playing max basketball money right now. But Jaylen Brown, I'm happy he proved me wrong. He's playing some of the best two-way basketball in the league right now. And I think the real reason why the contingency is so there, even without Hayward and Smart, is because of Kemba Walker. And the difference between Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving.
I love that guy. Yeah, I love Kemba. Man, I love Kemba.
Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving is Kemba Walker is unselfish. You saw it in his days as a.
He's just a better person. Just look at all the times there's a camera shot on just Kemba Walker and he's smiling, looking around at his teammates like he's having fun in Boston. Kyrie, you would look at him. He never had a big smile. Like, Kemba Walker is one of these dudes that could be like the poster child for like one of these smile companies or teeth whitening or like Francisco Lindor for baseball. Kemba Walker's that dude for the NBA right now. All smiles. He's happy. He's having fun. He's out of Charlotte. He's winning games with a playoff contender, and he is having so much fun, and I'm so happy, and I'm so proud of him.
And the best thing about Kemba Walker, too, he's focused on winning. He's so sick of losing. He was so sick of losing in Charlotte. He's finally having a taste for success, and he's loving it. And the thing about this Celtics team, too, he doesn't need to score 30 points a night to win. Now. He doesn't need to score 30 points a night to win anymore. Yeah. He can distribute, and that's the best part about Brad Stevens' system, is because he can pass the ball around, everybody can score.
You go back to the game, who was it against? It might have been against the Hornets, where he scored 2 free throws, and that was his only points of the day, and Taco came in and scored 5, and everyone's going crazy that Taco outscored Kemba. Very fun to watch.
It doesn't matter, because we won the game.
We won the game.
He's focused on winning, and that's the only attitude.
Shout out to Tyler Miller, who, again, at the very beginning, like probably few episodes ago when the contract first came out, he started talking to every single person about how they were wrong about the Jaylen Brown contract extension, saying everyone who said that he didn't deserve it should go kick rocks. Tyler Miller was 100% correct in saying that Jaylen Brown deserved this contract tenfold. He's playing out of his mind right now. Jaylen Brown completely deserved that contract extension. So shout out to Ty for letting the people know as soon as it happened and coming to fruition a few months later, down to Christmas, and getting ready for the Celtics game playing a few hours on a Friday night, which is odd.
Yep.
They're playing at like 4 p.m. Yeah, it's weird.
Yep. And honestly, I feel comfortable saying this now. They are a top 3 NBA team, regardless of conference.
Yeah, I believe it.
3.
And the East is good this year. The East is playing out of their minds. Like, yeah, there's going to be a team scraping in, like Detroit or something at the bottom, goes 40-40 and still makes playoffs. But the West is looking a little bit more vulnerable this year, even with like the demise of teams like Golden State, but the emergence of teams like Houston, Denver, even Portland are looking like playoff contenders. But the East has a chance to go back to back and winning an NBA title this year.
The East has been famously mocked and ridiculed for being the weakest conference in all of North American sports.
Right.
But honestly, they were right. For a good majority of the time, they were right.
Absolutely.
They were a weak-ass conference. And we feasted on that for years, even in the aging Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett years. The East is kind of back.
Teams like the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics, and the Heat. I would take those 4 teams over any team in the West any day right now.
Exactly. No, but I was just trying to highlight how bad the East was before. The bottom 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs in the West probably would have made the playoffs in the East. That's how bad it was. But the East is
that's why they're talking about this whole shuffling of the playoff schedule with the reseeding.
I stand behind that in the NBA more than anything. But the NBA is focused on the wrong thing. They want to introduce an in-season tournament. That's stupid. That doesn't.
That's dumb. I read that in that tweet. I'm like, what is this? Like, why?
That's stupid.
Don't mess with the regular season. It's great.
This isn't March Madness. No, you got to play real basketball. That was. But I'm all for the reshuffling for the NBA too. That'd be good for the league.
Yeah, absolutely. So finishing basketball talk, I think that's basically it. Moving on, the Red Sox have done nothing. Nothing. They traded Sandy Leone. That's about it. They claimed a few guys off waivers and signed a few guys for minimum contracts. The Red Sox got to do something. You see all these teams making splashes like the Yankees, the Angels, the Mets, the White Sox. The White Sox have done more in the offseason this year than the Red Sox. Who would have thought? But the White Sox looking like playoff contenders already before the few months away from the season even getting underway. But the Red Sox, they got to do something. I'm a baseball guy. Got to get my baseball talk in here, but they've
We
done
need to
basically
shore
nothing.
up this bullpen. We
Yeah.
need every
Sign,
single year
sign some
we don't
bullpen
make a
guys.
move, and then like, oh, we'll figure it out during the season. The bullpen will be fine, and then it's never fine. We can never
And
close
then
out.
they have a total ERA of like 6 at the end of the season. Can't have that. Can't have that. We're playoff contenders. We're
I'm not even like
coming
this
off a
is
World
not an
Series
exaggeration.
win.
I'm trying to be as platonic as possible. The Red Sox are
Yeah.
the most inconsistent sports organization in baseball.
They're they the even in Boston sports, like you look at the runs that the like Celtics, Bruins, and Patriots have, they're on these like look at a line graph. It goes up and just stays at the top. And the Red Sox, they're going up and down and up and down and up and down. They'll win the World Series and then be the worst team in their division the following year. And
And then win again.
it's it's weird. It's weird. I don't know how they do it, but that's our sock talk for the day. We'll get more on that on Socks and Four. But yeah, you got anything else you want to add to the show before we wrap it up?
Nope. I'll try to get some insight on the game Sunday. I'll be there
Yeah,
against
absolutely.
Miami, so we'll see if we can get some
Absolutely.
content out.
Look out for
And
that.
that's about it.
Yeah, I'm going to the Peach Bowl tomorrow. Get ready for that.
Yes,
Probably
sir.
get some content up on Ride the Wave. I don't know who I'm cheering for yet, but I'll try to make some money off that game. We'll see.
Yeah.
So this is Joe, the editor Stafford, and my name's Brandon. And thanks for tuning in to episode 24 of Boston's Big Three. Have a great week, everybody.
See you guys.